Welcome to AlexGs Aquarium, everybody. Today I've got another update on the 4,200 gallon aquarium. It's been a few months since I've been able to get an update out between family, holidays, work, travel. Just a lot has been going on. I haven't been able to get a video out. And today I want to talk about what's been going on in the display aquarium for the last few months. January of this year, the display aquarium itself turned 1 year old as a saltwater aquarium, and at the end of March, the whole display and the fish room system being combined together turned 1 year old. It's hard to believe that this has already been up and running over a year. The progress has been amazing on the system. Like all aquarium systems, I went through the uglies, and there's been some setbacks along the way, but overall this aquarium system is going in the positive direction. It's far exceeded my expectations of where I would be right now, and we're going to go through all of that today. In the fish only side of the aquarium, the first thing you're going to notice is that the hair algae is really gone and out of here. There's a few tiny patches of it on the front and sides and the back bottom of the tank, but the fish are actively controlling it. It's off the rocks now. Coralline algae has taken over most of the tank. There's a little bit of a touch of cyanobacteria in here right now, which coincidentally my UV sterilizer bulb had just turned a year old and just got replaced, so I expect that the cyano will start to clear up here as well. But as I said, coralline algae is pretty much top to bottom, side to side, front to back on the tank. I am running 2 Quanta Pro Reef Crest LED bars in this tank, which I've had those for a year now. I'm very happy with these lights. The fish get lit up good. Coralline algae is growing throughout the tank, even though I have a top on here too, which measured is reducing par by about 10%. So these lights are working great, and the tank is looking wonderful. I'm very happy with how it's looking, especially since it's not covered in hair algae. When it comes to the fish in this side of the aquarium, everyone's doing really well for the most part. There's a lot of new residents in here. I recently got an annularis angel, stars and stripes puffer, and in this month's new fish coming into the tank, there's 6 orange-tailed damsels that have come in, along with a magnificent foxface. Adding these fish in with the existing group of fish in here, I had a couple of challenges. When the annularis angel and the stars and stripes puffer were added, surprisingly my flamingi was the least happy about the new residents and proceeded to flash all kinds of wild colors, chase the annularis angel around the tank for about half a day. And the same thing with the stars and stripes puffer, which was very unexpected, I would say. Nobody got hurt, everybody settled down. There's still a touch of chasing here and there from the flamingi tank, but overall the fish are getting along good. And the newest residents, the damsels, I put them in for the first 5 to 10 minutes they were in the tank. I think some of the porcupine puffers thought they might have been a meal, but then left them alone, and they seem to be doing quite well. Those fish have been in the tank less than a week now, so they're still spreading out, kind of learning their territories. And finally, the magnificent foxface, well, that fish was kind of accepted into the group of my rabbitfish and other foxface, but then the big yellow foxface I had kind of turned on it for about a day and a half, 2 days, where it was getting chased pretty good and got beat up a bit, but seems like that has settled down and everyone's nice and calm again. As far as new fish residents, they are the new ones in here. There's also one new invertebrate resident that I want to talk about, and that is Mr. Crabs. Now, this is a giant white spot hermit crab, and it's hard to explain just how big Mr. Crabs is. I'd say he's like between a softball and a cantaloupe size. He is a big hermit crab. I got him from my local fish store. They needed to find a new home for him for somebody that had a fish only converting to a reef, and he thought I would have a great environment. And I gotta say, having this crab in the tank has been really interesting, a very interesting animal to keep in your aquarium, just the size of this crab. And Mr. Krabs, when it comes to food, does not play. When he gets a piece of food, it's his food, and not the puffers or the triggers or the wrasses or the angels dare take it from him. He will flick his legs out at him, which is actually one of the most hilarious things I've seen. When I first put that crab in there, he was eating a big clam I put in as a meal, a chowder clam, and the porcupine puffer came up to see if it could have a piece, and the Mr. Krabs just flung his legs up and hit him in the face. And it didn't hurt him or anything, but he kind of backed off, and since then nobody has messed with him. So another interesting animal. As far as all the other fish in the tank that have been going, the tangs, the angels, the wrasses, rabbitfish, they've all been doing well. The trio of Aptasia eating filefish I have in here, while those fish are very small and seem very timid, they got no problem mixing it up with the big boys when it comes to feeding time. And they're very interesting to watch. They've constantly got color changing going on between the three of them. So they're very interesting fish to watch. The trio of porcupine puffers is doing quite well. The two little ones are growing quite rapidly, and they're not so little anymore compared to when I got them. But those are doing well, and especially the new Stars and Stripes puffer. The four of them are getting together well. Now, one thing I will say about keeping multiple puffers together, starting with the multiple porcupine puffers, is that I had to change my feeding routine up. My previous system, I only had two puffers, a porcupine puffer and a dog-faced puffer, and as long as I kept them separated during feeding time by putting big chunks of food on separate tongs for them, I never had issues. However, when it got to having three puffers and then four puffers, inevitably the way I was feeding, these fish would sometimes go for the same chunk of food, and that would mean that they would lock jaws or grab one another inadvertently. Luckily, nobody's been seriously injured, some split lips and a few marks, but overall, it is something that's a concern. So I changed up my feeding regimen for these fish, and I have started making a DIY blend of chunky fish food in here, which is a mix of store-bought seafood and store-bought fish food that's all mixed together as a big medley. I got food for all the residents in here, and so I take that in big chunks, I thaw it out, and then I rapidly put it in the tank. The water flow pushes it around, and as you can see, the fish start to go after it, and for the most part now, don't bother each other, get in each other's way while they're eating. Now, all the fish in here are doing well. Unfortunately, I do have one loss to report. That is my Spanish hog. I had this fish over 7 years. It was the first fish I put in my 1,600-gallon system, and it was the first fish to go in this display tank and move with me a few times as well. The life expectancy of these fish is reported to be between 7 and 11 years, so I feel it got a good home. But sadly, it passed away. Overall, the rest of the fish in here are doing good. I'm really excited with the direction this fish-only side of the tank is going, and I'm looking forward to adding more fish over time to this part of the tank. How is the reef tank doing? Well, the Reef Aquarium is doing really well overall. Starting off with fish, the fish in this tank are doing excellent. No major concerns in here whatsoever. I get a little touch of marine ick from time to time on the fish, but I know it's in the system. I see it on the fish only side a bit here and there too, but it's not anything that I get concerned about. So overall, the fish are healthy. Now, back in October, November of last year, I did have some type of fungal infection come in here, and it impacted some of my Pseudochromis fridmani and some of my cleaner gobies, and I did lose a few of those. However, beyond those fish, I didn't see any others get affected, and it was right around the time I was really starting to step up water changes, changing carbon, and so I was doing about a little bit more maintenance than usual, and after I started doing that, I started to notice that cleared up and has gone out of the system, and the rest of the fish have been fine since. All the tangs are doing good, so the ones I got from Chummingham's Reef when he moved out last year to California. I got all 7 of those tanks in here. They're still doing excellent. And there are some new residents in here as well to report. I got 3 small Banggai cardinals that I've added to the tank. I have 1 really large Banggai cardinal that's been by itself for quite a long time, and I wanted to see if maybe I can get a pair or a couple of pairs or a small group in here going with them. So far they seem to have integrated quite nicely into the tank. And then the most recent addition to the tank is a copper band butterfly, which has just been added to the tank in the last few days. I was a little concerned that my 7 tangs in here might be a little unhappy with the new resident, but after going in an acclimation box for a while and being let out, so far, the copper band has been accepted by the group, and it hasn't been any major aggression till now. Sorry, I had to knock out wood just to be safe. Fish are doing well. Not a lot of new additions, and a lot of that just came down to is I had fish that I was putting into the fish only side, and with holidays and availability of fish I was looking for, I just didn't find the right residents to put into the reef. So that is the next plan, though, is to start adding more fish into the reef tank. Moving on to coral. So as far as SPS, LPS, and soft corals go, SPS corals has been where I've been having the most challenges and setbacks. I've got some Stylophora, Pavona, some Monoporas that are doing well, and I still have a couple Acropora that are doing okay, although I have been having some challenges with acros especially. I had many that were doing quite well through the late fall, but I started to lose some of them, and they just RTN'd on me, some of them STN, and I do attribute part of that to having some fluctuations in water chemistry. My consumption has been changing quite a bit, and I've had some alkalinity and parameter swings, which could be attributing to that. However, when it comes to LPS corals and soft corals, things have been doing pretty darn good. Late fall, I lost a couple LPS corals, but overall good, and I've had a couple of soft corals that I've lost too, some of them after fragging, which that's more on me and not so much the tank. Overall, corals are doing really good, and I've actually been trying to move more coral out here. I've got a lot of coral in my fish room. Some of it I'm trying to grow out colonies to be able to just have extra frags, or so I could plant multiples in the display, and I've just been looking for the time to plant those corals, so I've been slowly adding them in here. So there's a lot of open space here, but the square footage and the amount of space that needs to be covered is enormous. I'm also looking to have a lot of these corals grow into large colonies, so I'm trying to make sure that I give them adequate space for that. But corals are doing quite well. On a side note to that, coralline algae has completely taken over this tank. It is everywhere. It is looking great, and it's hard to believe this tank is just a little more than a year old with this much coralline on it. Between coral growth, coralline algae growth, and then a lot of small Caloris inverts that are reproducing in here, my carbonate alkalinity, calcium, magnesium consumption has gone extremely high. Now when it comes to the alkalinity swings I've had where, I'm keeping it maintained and then it goes down and then it goes up, there haven't been wild swings by any means. I primarily look at my alkalinity in the system, and it is normally around 8.3 to 8.6 DKH is where I like to keep it, and it has dropped down into that 7.7 range, maybe a little bit lower a couple of times, and a lot of that has to do with the enormous amount of consumption changes going on. As the coralline algae started to grow heavily, that started ramping up the consumption. As the corals have started to take off, at least the ones that are thriving, the consumption there has started to take off. So I'm really seeing a lot happen here. So here's my dosing today. I've got a Geo's Reef calcium reactor, commercial size. I've modded this calcium reactor to make my own CO2 dissolving chamber on it, and it's running a peristaltic pump at 58 milliliters per minute for the affluent. And that is about 83.5 liters of affluent a day going in. But wait, there's more. I'm also dosing kalkwasser continuously at 37.5 milliliters per minute, which equates to 54 liters per day. And I've also put the gallons up on the screen for both of these, so you can see just how much dosing I am doing to keep up with everything. Now, since I've been upping this dosing as I got into the late fall and the winter, I was really doing more kalkwasser, and I was upping the dose per day by hundreds of milliliters, and then up to a liter an hour using an Avasmarine calc stir, which is hilariously undersized for an aquarium system of 6,400 gallons. That being said, I've converted that over to a 44-gallon garbage can with Hydrosol as a continuous dosing method. And between the calcium reactor and the kalkwasser, I've been adjusting that dosing, and it's been maintained a little better at 8.3 to 8.6. However, it has slipped at least one time back down to 7.7 again. And in this case now, I am using sodium bicarbonate or baking soda to move that alkalinity up. And to do that, it's approximately, for me, using a Reef calculator, about 440 grams of sodium bicarbonate that I'll mix into RO water to move the DKH of the whole system by about 1. Now, I will say, I'm still new to using this, and I am really taking my time. I'm doing half of that, so about 220 grams of sodium bicarbonate mixed into a gallon of RO water, and I'm dosing that over a whole day slowly into the system. I tested it after it had been in there for a few hours the next day, and saw that I moved approximately halfway to where I wanted to get, so around 8.0. So then I dosed the other 220 grams, and that brought me back up to that 8.3 to 8.6 range. And then I'm going to just continue at this point. I'm going to boost my calcium reactor and its output more, because I'm actually dosing more kalkwasser and water I can evaporate every day right now, which have actually encouraged more evaporation in the system to try and balance that. So I'm going to keep running up the calcium reactor for right now and see how high we can ramp that up. And then eventually I will continue to do the same thing with the kalkwasser. But it's going to get interesting in the next few months once I start getting more and more corals in here. Now, overall, though, the health on things is looking good. Setback wise right now in the Reef, there's a couple things. There is some cyanobacteria in the Reef right now. It's spotty, and as I mentioned in the fish only side of the tank, I just replaced my UV sterilizer bulb. So I'm expecting in a few weeks, hopefully I'll start to see the cyano go down a little bit. I have seen this happen in the past in displays, and seen the UV bulb replacement help clear that up. But if it doesn't, I might do a little manual removal or blow it off with a pump. None of the corals or animals seem to be getting impacted right now, and it seems to just be kind of sitting there and not really expanding or growing much. So it's something I'll keep an eye on. And of course, the biggest setback, as you're watching some of the footage here go by, is Aptasia. The Aptasia have gone wild in here. I left on a vacation in January for a couple of weeks, and I came back and the Aptasia population just went wild. And I have gotten a copper band butterfly and put it in here, and that copper band was eating Aptasia for the month I had it in holding, so hopefully it still has an appetite for them in here, as there's no shortage. I've also got a dozen Bergia nudibranchs that I have in my refugium tank, which also has thousands of Aptasia. And the hope is that they'll start to multiply in there, and I could start harvesting them out of that tank and moving them in here slowly. It's a process, just like the hair algae. It's going to take time. I might also go in and manually from time to time and use an F-Aptasia or a DIY method to see if I can nuke some of these Aptasia. but there's just so many. I'm going to let this play out a little bit and see how it goes with some natural predators in here as well. Equipment wise, in the display tank, I'm still running my hodgepodge of lighting. I got Radion Gen 4s. I've got Quanta bars over part of the Reef. I've got 4 Philips Coral Care Gen 2 panel lights in here. I've got Orphec Amazonas lights and Orphec Atlantic lights. I'm loving the hodgepodge. All these lights are growing corals. Things are looking great. No issues or concerns coming out of that, and I'm just super happy to have lighting across the whole tank, and I'll adjust it and add some things. I've even got one big Amazonas 960, I believe is what it is, from Orphec, that is just a giant cannon, and I don't have it on the tank because I don't have an animal that I need to support with it right now, but eventually I do have some plans for that light. The lighting's good. As far as other hardware goes, I've gotten a Vast Marine plank feeder I got a few months ago, and I am loving that thing. It is a great tool on the Reef. I have it with a smart plug operating it, so it turns on 5 or 6 times during the daytime. I've also got it running during the nighttime, so its run cycles are 1 to 2 minutes a piece, so it's putting quite a bit of food in. I'm refilling it about once a week, and I'll probably look to 3D print a bigger hopper for it myself when the time is right for that, because I'm just really happy with it. The fish all know the timing, and I've got a mixture of dried fish foods and coral foods in there. So again, I know it's doing a good job too, because the Aptasia that are downstream from it have a growing population as well. In my DIY flow pumps, I am still operating 3 of these in the Reef, one in the fish only tank, and I've got another one in the back that I'm experimenting on. I'm on version 5 or 6 of these DIY flow pumps, where I'm taking a pressure pump and converting it to a propeller pump. I'm slowly changing the design to deal with some of the challenges of doing a conversion like this. And so far, I'm incredibly happy with the amount of water flow these are putting out. 2 of these pumps are 85 watts. I've also got a 115 watt pump, and I've got a couple of extras, so if I ever need to add in another pump or something, I can go ahead and get it in here and integrated rather quickly. But they're doing good, and I'm very happy with the flow that they're putting out. The only other highlight I really have to share in the Reef tank right now is just how much macrofauna and microfauna are in this tank. The mysid shrimp, the amphipods, the small little munidid isopods, they're everywhere. And I've also got conista snails that are populating like crazy, stomella snails that are going wild. I've even got, I think they're Elysium nudibranchs that eat algae that are in here too. There's just some really cool stuff going on in that microfauna world. All kinds of micro brittle stars, feather duster worms. I've got a couple different varieties in here, and I actually bought some of the bigger ones to see if they'll start slowly multiplying as some of the other ones have. They're just super happy with all the life that's in here. Everything is going according to plan in the Reef. Really happy to be able to enjoy this tank and share everything with you guys. That's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, go ahead, hit subscribe. I'll try to get some videos out more often. And if you want to see more frequent updates, I do post a little bit more on Instagram, and then also I'm a member of the Reef Beef podcast, and in their Discord channel, I've got a channel there where I'm making updates as new things come up there. I'm going to end up doing another video as well to talk about everything new in the fish room. Is probably be what I do next, because there's a lot of changes back there that I want to talk about, and I just couldn't fit everything into one video. But thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.